Hi everyone, so today we're going to talk about devas and asuras. Okay, so you might have heard of these terms before, and basically look at it this way. All the sentient, intelligent beings that exist in our level of creation that you can encounter, that exist, that you can connect to, are devas, okay? Beings of God, beings of light that have the energy of light of God within them, that shine with the energy of God and that are sustained by the energy of God, and that are also, as beings of the energy of God, they have their path which leads them to paradise as long as they remain good beings of God, okay? Children of God, if you want to see it that way. Asuras are being of darkness, so them, instead of visualizing a pure, bright, golden light within them of God, they have pure darkness, black, like that. Okay, and the asuras, them, they feed on the devas. Okay, and they capture them in their city. Okay, Vaikulta, the place of cultivation, where the asuras cultivate the devas with the help of the asuras, which put up their illusion magic, etc. They work together as a very organized society. Okay, that demonic society, and they basically feed off the energy of the devas, corrupt them, get them to stay there, trap them there, and never let them escape. Okay, so that is basically how it works in the relationship between the war between the asuras and the devas. Okay, now we're trying to work to smooth things over, okay, in this conflict, because in the end, hopefully the asuras can become good again, and the devas can become good again, and everybody can be good, right? But what do we have here essentially? Okay, is many different things that take place in this relationship between the devas and the asuras. Now what happens is the asuras, they act at the level of this level of creation, right, to basically turn this world as cutthroat as possible so that you can be acclimatized to their world. So when you're exposed to their world and basically what's going to be taking place at their world, it's almost like you feel used to it, like you're used to seeing this kind of concepts of basically the poor get left behind and all these different things, so that you acclimatize and accept their reality, their version that they're going to present to you, basically to capture you. Okay, and so what the asuras do is they influence at the level of here of society, basically. And what is the main purpose of everything that they do in society? Include flooding you with entertainment, useless waste of your time, entertainment, videos, all this useless disinformation, all that is to get you away from yoga and your connection with God. Yoga, which is connecting with the divine, and connect with the divine, you are a divine being in that sense that you are a deva, connected to God, to the energy of God, and basically pulling you away from that understanding that that's who you are. So that's the Asuric way, and that's what they want to do, is they want to basically control you in that way to lead you to Vaikulta, the place of cultivation, and in a sense turn everything into Vaikulta, the place of cultivation, and the paths that lead there. Okay, that's the Asura Prakriti, definition of Asura Prakriti. Okay, so what you have in this situation is what they want to do is they want to leave you in ignorance. Okay, and ignorance is ignorance that you are a being of God. Okay, a light being that has the light of God within them. Okay, and we've talked much about this on other channels in this video, including how at the level of energy lokas, you're a being that exists off the energy of God and gives energy out to the world as an energy of God. So you have your three phases of yoga, which is to receive, to hold, and to project, right? Which is also the phases that they abuse as asuras to basically drain you of that energy as well. Okay? So you have to have an understanding and develop yourself as a deva, as a being of God, okay, to be able to be conscious, first of all, of the truth of these things, except if you're very lucky and you fall on this channel, for example, or someone recommended to you, someone that cares about you, you know, or moving into the future, it might be known a little bit more, right? And I hope so for the devas, and that's why I come and give this information to all of them, so that they can basically be better prepared in this life and get educated, and that can lead to their better results and basically them succeeding and just being beings of God and staying beings of God. That's all you really got to do. Just stay a being of God, stay true to your inner nature, be a good person, and shower the world with good. And every time you shower the world with bad, you move closer to the darker side, right? So and more into ignorance, because that's opposite to your real nature as a being of God, and realizing that others are beings of God too. So you got to treat them as beings of God, like you would treat God. You got to treat them well, right? So there's a conflict between the devas and the asuras, and they do try to, as asuras, capture the devas And basically that happens at the end of the life of the deva, when you go to that place of in between right before your judgment with God, where you can get stuck in their realms, and that's where they basically keep you. So what they do is they interrupt your continuation of your path and your cycle of life as a deva, which brings to your judgment of God at the end, and then if you pass, to go to paradise; if you don't, to go to hell. So they intercept you in your regular process of life, okay, at those phases where they camp out, if you want to see it that way, and have their lands, right? And at that point, they try to basically stop the progression of a life of a deva, and to basically stop them and keep them into the darkness, bring them into the darkness. And that can even lead to a deva becoming an asura, if they're basically transformed into that way at those levels in the further stages, and then they become a rung demon, rung bottom demon that's not even worth the name of an asura. Asuras are the really powerful beings, but others are of the same type, just not even close to as powerful. You know, asuras are much more powerful than your average human, and the real asuras are extremely powerful. Okay, but as I said, they feed upon you, you know, so best avoid them and best be aware of them, you know, because that's the strength, the great strength of the asuras, you know, is that the devas don't know about them, right? Ignorance is their greatest strength. So they've established this place where they can drain all your energy, right? And you don't know about it, right? And that story manifests at the different levels of different lokas. Okay, so that's why there's that draining that exists within the system. So what you have to do here in this context is you have to know that the mission of the asura is essentially to separate you from God. Okay, to separate you from your true being as a being of God. That's the mission of the asura, because it is by separating you from God that they separate you from your destiny as a being of God that will eventually make its way to paradise. And they intercept you before you make your way to paradise. Okay, and some people would say that maybe that can take many different names, that different realm, you know, and some people would maybe call it the bardo, you know, that you have to get through it, you know, as a being of God, as a being of light. Okay, so basically you look at it that way. Okay, so that's the purpose of the asura, to separate you from God. And as a deva, you know, the more you know and the more you're close to God and practice yoga, union with the divine, the stronger you become as a deva, because your strength comes from God. Your life comes from God. So the more you purify and basically augment your capacity to connect to that light that gives you life, the more you can bring it within you and use it to grow as a spiritual being. And as that level, as you grow, you can become very powerful indeed yourself. Okay, so that's something that can be explored by people who are interested with that, in that. So a little bit more about the devas and the asuras, and how the purpose of the asura is to separate you from God, you know, to get you to not listen to God, to get you to ignore God, to not believe in God, you know, everything that separates you from that knowledge of who you truly are, because that knowledge protects you and keeps you on that cycle of a God and a being of God. But when you lose your way, right, what happens? You might just fall off the path, you know? So stay strong, devas, and stick together.